So I'm
Yeah.
sure most of the Chili Bowl fans, know this story by now, but I think it's kind of cool the fact that from the outside, your Chili Bowl win looked pretty flawless, but little did everyone watching know that actually fuel was coming out of your, line or whatever it was that broke. Can you kind of recap just the chaos of that race? Because from the outside, again, it just looked flawless.
Yeah, you never really know as a fan what's actually happening. And yeah, my first real not even a real problem, but my first issue I noticed was before we'd even went green, we kind of do a little which we didn't do much of it this year, but we kind of got on the gas just a little bit, and I went to adjust one of my shocks, and one of my shock cable was broken from the start. I don't know if it got broken. We were setting it before the race or what, but they tend to kind of break easily, and they don't even really break. They just kind of come undone. You have to reset them. But yeah, I lost the shock cable in a 55 lap race. That's something that you really like to use. But I said that's I was whatever. I can get over that, and I'll just worry about driving and not working on my race car. And then yeah, pretty early in the race, I noticed my feet were getting cold, which means fuel's on your feet, which isn't good when you're racing. But yeah, I mean, then your next worry is, are you going to make it on fuel? And I think we had like a half a gallon left. It was completely out of fuel basically
Oh my God.
at the end of the race. So like one more yellow, and I would have been parked in the infield watching the last few laps. But yeah, I guess all the stars lined up for us.
Yeah, so early on in the race, what was your thoughts when Buddy got past you there briefly, and then obviously that caution came out and they set him back behind you? Like what was going through your mind obviously when that happened?
Yeah, it was kind of similar to last year, like when Cannon passed me. I wasn't super worried. Obviously, Buddy's really good, and he's going to be tough to pass back. But usually, leading at the Chili Bowl isn't the best spot to be in. Like when you get to lap traffic, or when the track usually changes 2 or 3 times. Um, so I wasn't really worried. I knew there'd be enough time to get racing and get to traffic, and the track would keep changing. And that's just when you win or lose Chili Bowls is in situations like that. And obviously I got fortunate to get the lead back, and then I knew the track had moved. Obviously, Buddy kind of showed me that, and moved up for the time being, and until I got to traffic. Um, but yeah, at the time when he went by me, I wasn't super worried. I knew my car was just every bit as good as his, and I could there's a reason why most of the people win the Chili Bowl from starting second, because usually the early leader doesn't hold on to it. But yeah, like I said, I was fortunate to Buddy kind of show me the line changing, and then the yellow comes out to give me the spot back, and then I was able to hold them off the rest of the race.
You mentioned, the track conditions. Obviously, that was a pretty big talking point, not only after, the finale, but even during like the prelim nights, kind of comparing how awesome the racing was during the prelims. And then, obviously people had their thoughts about how the finale worked out from your perspective, not only as a driver, but, as a fan in the beginning of the week watching the prelim nights of racing and then having kind of the track the way it was on Saturday. Just kind of what are some of your thoughts and I guess feedback on the track conditions? Obviously, it played out in your favor, but
Yeah, certainly. When it rubbers, you want to be the leader, so that helped out for sure. But I thought, Monday to Friday was probably the best conditions we've ever seen at the Chili Bowl for 5 straight days. Usually there's a day or two where you kind of like, man, I wish the track was better. But I think for those first 5 days, it was like, this is the best Chili Bowl we've ever had track wise. And everyone was excited for Saturday. And it surprised me really, because every night it was one on the top. And every night I was like, man, I wish they would have just done a little more to the bottom, just give the bottom a little bit more. And we get to Saturday, and the only thing they did was work the top. So it just kind of confused me a little bit, knowing that every night the top was dominant and they didn't really give the bottom a chance at all, on the most important race. So it's like, they obviously are good at what they do. They nailed it 5 days in a row. But yeah, for me as a fan and as a competitor, I was kind of confused on not working the bottom when the bottom was slower all week. So I think it could have benefited to work the bottom a little bit. But obviously, if they work the bottom too much and then we run around the bottom for 40 or 50 laps, and everyone complains also. So it's a tough situation. There's so much racing on Saturday, and it's hard to keep the track even remotely close to being good all day. And then you just run into time constraints and stuff. So they obviously did a good job this year on time. I think we finished pretty early this year compared to last year. It was, well after midnight when we even started the race, I think.
I think it was
time-wise,
something like 9:40
Yeah,
here
it
was
was
the
early.
end.
yeah, that's awesome, right? That's what you would love to see, and especially like back when it was on TV and stuff. It's like that's what you have to have done to do stuff like that on live TV. But yeah, obviously they missed it, and they admitted it, and obviously everyone knew it, so it wasn't a surprise. It was pretty rough to run around the bottom for the last. I think it was about lap 30 when I moved down, so about 25 laps of just idling around the bottom is not fun as a fan. But yeah, I guess it is what it is, and that's kind of the Chili Bowl has rubbered so many times. This is not the first time, and it won't be the last time. So people just are going to complain about anything they can, and like I said, obviously everyone agrees it's not ideal, but certainly complaining about it doesn't help much either.
Yeah. So you mentioned earlier like how attuned you were to like as the track was changing throughout the race and like how much you watched the prelim nights and how the track kind of was like pretty racy around the top, and then obviously during the main on Saturday it was more so it got to the point obviously where it was on the bottom. How much would you say like your seat time and like how active you have been throughout the past few years, how that kind of maybe like helped with your instincts in that way to kind of like be more in tune to what was going on with the track so you knew when to make the right move when, because obviously like practice makes perfect, like that's a tough thing, like that's one of the tougher things with dirt racing. So how would you say all that seat time and like your success over the past couple years has been beneficial to you in that regard?
Yeah, I think that's everything, right? The more you can race, especially like you said, dirt racing is so unique, that you don't just learn that stuff in your first few races. I've obviously been dirt racing my entire life, and I feel like every race I run, I learn a little bit more about it and about different types of dirt and different cars and what they do to it and what tires do to it, and everything. You can never know enough. There's no limit of what you can learn. You learn every single time, and certainly racing. The last few years, I've been probably close to 100 races every year, and yeah, you just like you said, it kind of becomes instinct. What just looking at something, how much speed it has down there, right? You have to know if the bottom's going to be fast before you go down there, because if you do go down too early and you make that mistake, guys like Buddy or Corey Day or them guys are right there. So and they're not going to make that same mistake, so they know every bit as much as I do. And like I said, yeah, if you make the wrong move at the right time or at the wrong time at the Chili Bowl, your chances of winning are about over. So yeah, I think everything comes down to experience and seat time, and just taking everything in every race. You can't take any laps for granted. You have to be learning every time, and knowing that you don't know everything, and that's important. Like I said, as much as I race, I still know that I have a lot to learn, and obviously becoming better racer lately, and not giving away as many races as I maybe used to, and maybe closing out races better than I have in the past. I've been on the pole to Chili Bowl before, and I think I ran ninth. And then the last 2 years I've been on the front row and was able to close out the races. So certainly helps getting laps and being confident in myself, and when I know that, or believing in myself that I know when to make the right decisions. And yeah, you just, like I said, it just comes with time. There's nothing, stuff like that can't really be taught, and maybe can be, if you have a mentor that helps you, they might be able to speed it up. But at the end of the day, it's just about logging laps and putting races in under your belt, and just having that experience.
I thought it was so odd. In one of our interviews, you said, I didn't want people to think last year was a fluke. And, thinking about the season that you had last year, it was almost odd to me that, you thought people would think that was a fluke after you basically went out on the USAC trail and, backed up your Chili Bowl win with a bunch more wins, championships, So I guess if you could kind of explain why you felt like you had to prove yourself again, and just kind of if you were maybe under more pressure to perform this year, feeling like you had to back it up.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't, I think you always kind of want to back up what you've done in the past. and maybe fluke isn't the wrong word. I don't think anybody flukes into a Chili Bowl win. Like I said, the odds are so stacked against you, and there's so many guys there that can win. I don't think anybody really flukes into it, but I think more so I just wanted to prove that we were good enough to do it again. And like I said, obviously my season certainly helped, winning as many races as we did, and USAC races and midget races in general. But I think Kevin and I really just wanted to come back. And I think a lot of people thought, man, Thorson was better and this and that. And I think he was better for maybe 6 or 7 laps last year of the 55. But I thought for the most part of that race, I thought our car was better, and we, for the most part, ran a better race. But I think once it moved to the bottom, his car definitely showed that he was faster. But at that point of the race, it didn't matter, obviously. So I think, like I said, for 50 laps, we showed that we were good. And then for 5 or 6 laps, maybe there were some vulnerabilities, and we wanted to come back this year and kind of just show that we could do it again. And we obviously did that. So, and then, you kind of don't really pay attention to, I try not to at least, but you still see, who's going to win. And weirdly, not as many people said my name as I kind of thought, which is fine. I don't really care. And we, come back and proved them wrong this year. So that was cool again. But yeah, for the most part, you just want to show up and win and beat everybody in the building. And certainly is easier said than done. But yeah, it was cool to do it again.
And then one more kind of final question to wrap up our Chili Bowl segment. Someone who's a very big part of this story is obviously Kevin Swindell. And after your win, I kind of caught up with him at the Chili Bowl, and he was talking about your guys' relationship. And he was saying how after his accident in 2015, you were one of the guys who was, with him playing video games. And, that's kind of where your relationship maybe started. And so I was just curious, kind of from your perspective, this is more than just driver team owner relationship.
Yeah. Kevin, I've, like I said, been friends for a long time. Him and Jordan were one of the first people. I had heart surgery in 2016, I think, and they were one of the first people to send me a package when I got home, and just always so thoughtful. And then once he had his accident, we were not, like I said, it really wasn't that far apart. I was stuck inside, and we were just playing, whatever, iRacing and R Factor on the computer and other games and whatnot. So back in those days, we would talk to each other every single day, and we still talk to each other a lot. But yeah, it goes outside of just racing and other things like that. It's like I said, it's been years and years, and probably close to 10 years now that we've been buddies and talking fairly often. And, that relationship obviously grows closer when you have to do business basically together. It's what it is for both of us. And as much as it is fun and whatnot, this is how we make money, and you have to run well. So it's as much as friendship as it is business. And it's just fun to race with people that you really enjoy being around and that are passionate about the same things you are.
It was definitely cool to see the way your team celebrated in victory lane and how excited everyone was. So that was definitely a neat dynamic to watch this last week. But with that, we're actually going to take a short break, and then we'll be right back with more.